Have you always wanted to surprise your friends with a big, fat, juicy beef roast? Well, I'm going to show you how to do it.
A big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
I'm super happy because I got this beautiful piece of meat at a really nice deal. So if you're Dutch, that's something that makes you extremely happy. But what I'm about to show you next is going to make you even happy just watching it. These are finds that if you find one of these, if you're a wholesaler, you know you hit the mother load, baby. Woo! Look at it. That is what I call intramuscular fat. Look at that. And even cooler is that this is a locally grown. So it comes from the Netherlands. It comes actually just about half an hour driving from me. This is a Strip Loin Roast. And it's a mixed breed between Holstein, the male cow, and Black Angus. But it's all about the way they treated the cow and how they turned it into a delicious piece of meat. It's going to be perfect for what we're going to do. We even have that beautiful fat cap still sitting on top. This just makes me so happy. Oh yeah. I love it. Of course, the first thing that I always do is inspect the meat, making sure we don't have any silver skin that I don't want on this meat. And there's a little bit right there, but not much to speak of. All I need to do is clean that off a little bit, because this, even though it's not the most expensive roast because of the nice price that I got, I still want to get it absolutely perfect. So I'm just going to run my chef's knife over it. And by taking off the silver skin, I'm doing two things. I'm going to make it more enjoyable, more tender to eat, and at the same time I'm creating an opportunity to add more flavor with seasoning on the outside. Look at that. That is a beautiful thing. That silver skin also runs into the different cuts of meat that sits on this strip loin, so I'm not going to all take it off. This is as clean as I'm going to go, but it's absolutely perfect for what we're going to do. I'm cooking on the Napoleon Kettle Grill, and it's a new grill in their lineup. They improved some features on it, like the top vent, the bottom vent. And my favorite way to set this up is to put two bricks in, and then behind that I'm going to put some charcoal briquettes. Now these are Napoleon charcoal briquettes with some smoke wood in them, but still I'm going to put a few chunks of smoke wood on top of that, and then I'm going to light it up on one side and I'm going to let it catch fire. And after 10 minutes, when it's lit, I'm going to put the grill grates on, set the top vent to fully open, and set the bottom vent to the first position. With the grill set up and the meat prepared, it's time to start thinking about flavor. Now I got my magical trick that I like to use to build up flavor on the outside of a roast like this. And what I'd like to do personally is keep the inside of the roast as is. I want that beefy flavor. I want that thing to shine. And at the same time, I like to have flavor on the outside, so when I bite into the crust, I get an explosion of flavors. And I got just a trick for you to make this roast pop. Of course, I'm going to be needing mayonnaise because I will be making a binder. And a binder is something that helps you... Come on, mayonnaise. See, this is the thing about Dutch mayonnaise. It's just as... eigenwijs. What's the English word for eigenwijs? Stubborn. It's just as stubborn as the Dutch people. Yeah, there it is. No! Fighting with the mayonnaise. That's something new. What I wanted to say is that a binder helps you to let seasoning stick to the meat in larger quantities than normal. And by doing so, you also have the opportunity to add flavor. Therefore, I'm using Dutch mayonnaise and mustard. Now, there's a reason why I'm using Dutch mayonnaise. The mayonnaise I use because it's mostly oil. The mustard I use because it's mostly oil. And because of the mustard, you're making it a little bit more intense. I'm going to add a splash of Worcester sauce to it. And with this mixture, you're definitely going to win. The amounts is about half a cup of mayonnaise, a quarter cup of mustard, and 2 tablespoons of Worcester sauce. And when you try it, it should be a little bit intense. Definitely. Really good. And for the crust, I'm gonna go all in. I'm starting with the Texas barbecue rub by PITMASTERX. Now, we got all the recipes for our rubs on our website, so just check that out. Or if you want to buy these, they're at shop.pitmasterx.com. You'll find these. I'm going to put in a tablespoon of that. This is heavy on salt and pepper. And this is a more all-purpose version of that rub with loads and loads of popping flavors. So I'm going to add 4 tablespoons of the PITMASTERX beef rub. Since we have that binder and we want to build up a big crust, I'm gonna use panko breadcrumbs. What is even more crunchy than panko breadcrumbs? That's right, fried onions. These little crunchy fried onions you put on Chinese dishes. I'm gonna add that to the mix. And that's how you go crazy on a crust. In this case, I'm not adding any fresh ingredients because I don't want this crust to be moist. I want it to be crunchy, crispy. So that's 2 tablespoons of the PITMASTERX Texas barbecue rub, 4 tablespoons of the PITMASTERX beef rub, then about half a cup of the panko breadcrumbs and a 1/4 cup of the fried onions. Let's start by giving the fat cap an extra special treatment. I'm going to carve into it and therefore I'm maximizing the amount of surface to the fat. Now if you cook for other people a lot, then you know that most people don't really appreciate the fat cap. And that's because they had a bad experience with the fat cap or the fat that sits inside the roast because it wasn't cooked properly. It wasn't rendered down sufficiently, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to carve into this and we're going to make this fat taste freaking amazing. Because you and me know that fat is flavor. So I'm gonna put some salt on this and I'm not gonna put anything else on this. I'm gonna make this stick out and shine so people will just have to love it. Rub it in a little bit, flip it around. Now we'll do the other side. Here we go, our binder first. Big dollop of that on. And remember, none goes on the fat cap, only on the meat sides. Now let's sprinkle on the crust. Make it look absolutely beautiful. I want to get as much on as I possibly can. I'm gonna cover every last bit of meat. And there we have it. The temperature in the grill is rising up quickly. We're now at 100 degrees Celsius, but it's going real fast. And that means I gotta keep my eye on it. And the one dead giveaway is the speed of the smoke. The hotter it gets, the faster the hot air runs through it. So let's open it up and get our roast on. I'm gonna use the fat cap as a protection. I'm gonna point it downwards towards the place where the most heat comes from. And then I'm gonna put the thinnest part of the roast furthest away from the heat. But one thing you do have to keep in mind, this is a kettle grill, which means hot air is rolling through the barbecue. Some of it is going out through the top, but most of it's just rolling around, picking up speed. And therefore on the outside of the barbecue, you can have a hot zone, which is in itself a perfect thing, but you have to keep your eye on that roast, making sure that you don't overcook it in the flat part. Now I'm just going to give this time. If I need to, I'm just going to adjust the top vent, closing it a little bit. And with that, I can lower the temperature. For now, I'm leaving it as it is. The strip loin roast has been on for about 3 hours and we're doing really well. If you see the buildup on the crust, oh, that is insane. It's getting super nice and crunchy. Most of the juice has been soaked up by the crust and then it evaporates again and it becomes this super solid, super nice crust. Now, the trick is to just let it keep going, but at the same time, I gotta think about that heat. So I'm going to do a rotation on the roast, get this tongue underneath, help it a little bit. It's hot at the bottom, and then just flip this around, trying to preserve as much of the crust as possible. Gonna stick the thermometer back in, but it's looking really good. We're gonna take it as slow as possible. Now, if you have a thermometer that does the calculations for you, that's awesome. But if you don't have a thermometer like that, what are you going to do? Well, with a roast like this and a temperature of around 120 degrees Celsius, I'm estimating that my roast would go up another 2 degrees Celsius in temperature. But therefore, I also like to just measure the outside and see that we're running a bit high, while on the core we have a lower temperature. So it means I'm going to roll out some aluminum foil, put the roast on, wrap it up, and then I'm going to let the high temperatures cook the rest of the roast while the outside reduces in temperature and the meat is resting at the same time. I've been monitoring the temperature and it stopped going up. And that is the moment you start unwrapping the package. Oh yeah. Whoa. All right. Sometimes you just want to kiss it. I'm not going to. This is the bottom with the salt and the fat cap. Look at this. Isn't that a beauty? Wow. Absolutely beautiful looking roast. All right, let's slice into this. Oh, that is freaking delicious looking. Look at it. That looks so good. We got edge to edge thickness, and this is what we did with the resting, because the barbecue itself We had a higher temperature in the edges, and now by letting it rest, it has the same temperature from edge to edge. That means we know it's properly cooked, the fat rendered down nice, and we ended up with a beautiful looking slice of steak. Really good. We even have a little bit of smoke ring on the outside. Looks really nice. Holy moly, that is one delicious looking piece of meat. That crust is just a little present on top of the roast, adding flavor to the dish. Absolutely fantastic. Oh, ridiculous. If you have any questions about this, just put them down below. I'll try and answer them. Hope to see you guys in the next video.